Now, let's look at what the papers are saying on their front pages, and we have Dr. Constance Iko. Constance, good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Ndi. How are you today? And good morning, Adesua and Nkechi.
Good morning.
Morning. To look at the papers this morning with us, we have Emmanuel Aziken. He is a columnist with Vanguard newspaper and former political editor. Hello there and welcome to the program. We'll begin with this day newspaper. Total Energies proposes attractive entry cost, market reflecting bonuses to grow oil sector. Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, resigns over poor handling of church abuse scandal. Cardoso recapitalization to boost financial inclusion, enhance credit to MSMEs. And then at Okpewolo swearing in, Tinubu says nation's hardest days over. Will support Nigeria's economic reforms, Saudi Crown Prince Salman tells Tinubu. This was according to a press release by presidential spokesman Bayo Ananoga. President Bola Tinubu had met with Prince Mohammed bin Salman bin Abdul Aziz in Riyadh Monday. The two leaders explored areas of cooperation in oil and gas, agriculture, infrastructure, and a potential Saudi-Nigeria Business Council. I mean, the two leaders seem to have engaged in some discussions that could be of benefit to both countries, Saudi Arabia and Nigeria. But one will wonder, should Nigeria not be at par with a country like Saudi Arabia, Emmanuel?
You are right on spot. Nigeria ordinarily should be even ahead of Saudi Arabia based on our competencies in respect of human or personnel, in respect of human resources. You remember just about 30 or 40 years ago, it was a known fact that Saudi royal family used to come and take treatment at the UCH. But today the UCH that the Saudi royal family used to come to, you need torchlight to navigate yourself around the premises of that hospital because there is no lack of supply of electricity. So it tells you the way we have fallen back in terms of our development, that Saudi Arabia is now becoming, that is equally endowed like Nigeria with oil, with a human God-given resource. It's just that oil seems to have been a cost, as it were, to Nigeria. It's a pity. And mark you, this statement is a reflection of what the presidential villa is saying. This is not what the Saudi Arabia government has told us. We've had instances in the recent past when presidential spokespersons will tell us this was what was arrived at a summit, and it eventually turns out to be an opposite. So whatever, if there is an agreement for Saudi Arabia to help us in terms of our development, it will be welcome. Saudi Arabia is presently active in financing Olam and a number of other endeavors in the country.
Even the word help us, it just seems like the country is in a very weak position. They did talk about critical areas, oil and gas, infrastructure, agriculture. At the same time, with all that is going on, Nigeria just seems to be at the bottom. Ndi, what is your thought on this?
I think Imada just encapsulated it, to think that as far back as time, Saudi Arabia used to come to Nigeria, UCH for that matter, to take treatment, and today you can hardly have light to do anything. That shows you how the level to which our infrastructure has gone down. Then the Saudi prince said there are similarities in the way that the reforms are being carried out here in Nigeria. I do not know that Nigerians will agree with the Saudi prince, but then he says he will help Nigeria with the reforms.
Well, he supports Nigeria's economic reforms.
He supports Nigeria. We'll see how that plays out.
Okay, New Telegraph. Shatima, FG reforms raise Nigeria's trade balance to 6.9 trillion naira. Cardoso bank recapitalization will boost financial inclusion. We see that in this day. Adopt Senator Kalu as consensus candidate in 2027. The group tells political parties. I doubt that. President orders state burial for the late Chief of Army Staff Lagbaja alleged 1.3 trillion fraud. EFCC yet to establish any case against Okowa, that's the former governor of Delta State. NCAA bans pilot crew flying 2 airlines. Containment operations, this is Lukarawa, the new terrorist group, begins very soon. Security agencies have been given marching orders to crush this terrorist group. Defense headquarters says the new group has begun recruitment drive in order to bolster its fighting capabilities, but the military is working closely with the state governments to halt this effort as well as crush the group. Lukarawa operates in Sokoto and Kebbi states, and they are from Niger and Mali axis, particularly following the coup in Niger. I mean, Nigeria simply, seems to have become a fertile ground for anarchist and terrorist groups from everywhere, with the ability to terrorize communities as well as make money in this country, Emmanuel.
Well, the report that the military has been giving the marching orders looks to me as funny. The military does not have to be given a marching order to do what is constitutionally required of it. This group, Lokorawa, we are told, has been in operation in Nigeria for some time and for some years, since about 2018. And it's worthwhile to be, it's remarkable actually, from what we have read snippets in the recent past, that the Department of, the DSS has actually been working underhand in trying to stir a crisis between this group and between these groups in the Northwest. So that is remarkable. And I feel very uncomfortable hearing the defense headquarters saying that they are giving marching orders to the military to do what is required of them. And mark you, and I also say that this group is, the intensification of their efforts in the country is also a reflection of our foreign policy, the chaos we have in our foreign policy, especially in regards to our near neighbors in Niger, in Mali, and Burkina Faso. The fact that the administration has not been able to respond positively in a coordinated way towards the internal chaos in those countries that led to military coups. The initial knee-jerk reaction from the present administration to the coups in those countries did not help any matter. So I think now that this has been reviewed, I think the administration needs to do what it can to realign with the to join forces with the governments in Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, where these insurgents are coming from.
Right. Nkechi, according to this report, it says that Lukarawa does not constitute currently a threat to national security. But as we have seen from past experiences, they might start small. They cannot be ignored because they eventually grow once they get a foothold. Exactly.
There are some I think there was recently an attack that left 15 people dead,
yes, yeah.
Scores of cattle gone, and they call that sort of a minor threat. But how many minor threats do we have to go through to then wait for them to destabilize a whole state or 2 states or a whole region? I just don't understand how a group with roots from Niger, Mali, post-coup chaos managed to infiltrate Nigerian borders. And the way they operate is calculated. They have like welfare packages, sort of replacing bullets to, gather trust from the people.
And entice
the way they
young
recruit,
people.
The way they are branding, I feel like it's innovative in a way that it's not usual for our conventional security apparatus maybe to handle. And then the fact that they always say, look, the community, they are being silent, they are not helping matters. But I think the silence is born out of fear. It's born out of survival. When you have a terrorist taxman that is offering you things in replacement of pseudo-justice, what is the villager going to do really? So I agree with our analyst this morning. This marching order is... it's a repetition. Every time something like this happens, there's a marching order. But we need this marching order to actually turn into action. And we need the people of Sokoto and KB to get back to their normal lives, really.
All right, so let's get the Punch. Dangote Ipman members load petrol 990 naira per litre. Army buries Labaja this Friday. Autonomy FG governors LG sign agreement. Shatima leads APC mega rally as Governor Ajayi's camp allege rigging plot. The election in Ondo will hold on Saturday. Not less than 17 parties are participating. The PDP, People's Democratic Party, says the All Progressives Congress plans to rig by having some of its members as presiding officers of INEC. What do you make of this one? I mean, elections have become a ritual that seem to make no meaning in this country. Shouts of manipulation, rigging here and there, and it goes back to the same thing over and over again.
It would have been strange if we did not hear these accusations and counter-accusations by the ruling, by the major parties. It's become a constant in our electioneering cycle for the political parties. Yes, the APC is pulling out all the stops with this mega rally, including pulling out the Vice President Kashim Shettima, having regained one state from the South Edo State, with the governor being sworn in yesterday, and they would like to consolidate that with Ondo State, which is happening this weekend, by retaining that. You recall Governor Ayedatiwa took over from late governor of the state there. But this pulling out the big wigs come against the backdrop of this accusation. And I think that it is the cross for INEC to carry, unfortunately. When we hear this accusations and counter-accusations, it only points to the fact that there is mistrust in the system. And this system is the system created by INEC to conduct a free, credible, and transparent elections. But in all of this, we must continue to reiterate that the people must be allowed to carry out their franchise without intimidation, without fear. The Ondo people are the only people who can decide who will be their next governor, and that should happen. INEC again faces this test after Edo elections. Right. I don't envy them.
Okay, there's this other story in Punch also. It talks about Edo State, where Okpewolo is taking office, and Oshiomele's son, Mr. Adams Oshiomele's son, made the list of cabinet members. He is the health commissioner designate, Dr. Cyril Oshiomele. I mean, he seems to be very qualified from what we can see in that article. However, I guess he probably would not have made it if his dad was not a big part of that campaign. Emmanuel, your thoughts on that?
He certainly would not. He certainly would not have made it if his father had not played a leading role in the emergence of the present governor. But I must commend the governor for pushing forward his nominees, at least some of his nominees, to the State House of Assembly and designating their portfolios. This is something that is just beginning to take traction. And one must commend President Bola Tinubu for taking the lead by his recent nominations to the Senate. Putting forward portfolios to ministerial nominees or commissioner nominees helps to elevate the screening process, to put the nominees on the spot, to be well scrutinized by the respective legislative bodies. Well, I commend, I do not fault the nomination of the Oshiomele's son. He's ably qualified. If you read his profile, he's had degrees and experience able enough to tackle the situation in Edo State.
No MDA executed 20% of capital projects, says EFCC, and is pushing for power sector reforms as well. The EFCC chairman, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Ola Olukoyode, says that in the past 20 years, according to investigations, no ministry, department of government has executed up to 20% of capital projects. It means that, whatever money has been allocated to their budget, at the end of the day, they do not execute. And this is why we are here where we are today. It's a big hindrance, Ndi.
It's not just a big hindrance, it's horrible. you're talking about 100%, and you're saying only 20% projects were executed. That's a horrible failure. It's not even up to C. It's a failure. We don't get a C, it's a failure.
No, that's an error.
Yeah. Let me address this on three fronts. One, on the front of people who get these contracts, we as Nigerians have a role to play in making our country what we want it to be. Honesty is key. That is on the first front. Why would you get a contract and you will not do the job? That's on the first front. On the second front, the issue of these contracts, who they are awarded to, or these jobs. The issue of favoritism, we were talking about Dr. Oshomole, health, doctor being in the health ministry. Are they qualified to be where they are? Are you putting square pegs in round holes? And then the third question is the monitoring of these projects and then judgment adequately being meted out when people fail. That's why Nigeria is where it is today. People just get away with murder in this country. I mean, that's what it is. People just do things and flout, circumvent rules, and nothing happens. And these are the issues. I mean, they're talking about who gets what. That's where government comes in.
Bottom line, EFCC is saying we have been using baskets to fetch water in the power sector. Because all the money we put just eases out.
Not just the power sector, because it's across the board, really.
What a good way to put it. It says it has established a new department to monitor MDAs so that they make sure that monies are properly utilized. But you would ask, why should MDAs themselves not have checks within their agencies and departments to make sure that they do the right thing?
And why should government not monitor them?
Right.
I think our guest commentator wants to say a comment real quick.
Let's move on to the international headlines.
Just a minute, just a minute, please.
Right.
I want to assert that the failure of any ministry to implement the budget as passed is a violation of the law. The budget is a law, is an appropriation act. And severally, you have had the Congress shutting down government in the United States because of a failure to implement $1 or a cent. If you refuse to implement $1 or a cent of the budget, it is a violation of the law. People should be brought to account on this.
All right. Daily Graphic, Supreme Court quashes Speaker's decision. 4 MPs remain in Parliament after the court said that the declaration of their seats vacant is unconstitutional. You have it right there. That has been settled in Ghana Parliament. Citizen, job boom as country's economy grows. Employment numbers surged by 294,000 to 16.9 million, data shows in South Africa. Although unemployment rate is still high, the forecast is that it's drifting lower over coming months thanks to an improved economic growth outlook. Then the Times, bequeaths in shame at child abuse case failures. The Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, following a scandal that rocked the church, has stepped aside. He's accused of not reining in serial child abuser. His resignation is without precedent in 1,427 years. That's unbelievable. He's the first to throw in the towel in 1,427 years. Nkechi, what an incredible turn of events in England.
I mean, I think this was really expected, and we spoke about this yesterday, that cloak of silence. And I think Adesua mentioned the Catholic Church, and everyone was like, no, it's the Anglican Church. We know it's the Anglican Church, but it's the church when it comes to this sort of things. And Welby's words, he said, look, he has a profound sense of shame, and truly, he really should. And everyone involved in covering up this sort of acts should have that shame, because a church is where people come and people have trust in leaders of the church. People have trust in that community. And for minors, for children to not have that trust, to have that trust being taken away from them, to have their innocence being taken away from them, and to have it been covered in such a huge manner is just unacceptable. And someone just had to take the fall for this, and he had to be the one to do that. And this is personally touching to me because I lived 5 years in Canterbury. I was worshipping in the Canterbury Cathedral where Welby is headquartered, and just reading the story is just so emotional, and my heart just goes out to all the victims that have been caught up in this.
He took responsibility, let's look at the headlines, all over England today. Daily Express says, my profound sense of shame at church failings. That's Daily Express. This morning in the Financial Times, it says Archbishop's retreat will be bows to pressure by resigning over failures in child abuse case. And then in newspaper, my profound shame. Again, in the Times, while bequeathing shame at child abuse case failures. Again, shame used severally all over. So quickly to Washington Post, Trump selects Musk Ramaswamy to push for drastic changes to its government. Both business executive Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy will lead a new commission to cut the cost of governance, or to cut the cost of governance in the United States of America, spending and regulation as well. This Department of Government Efficiency is championed by Musk, and it's a new one. Elon Musk's gamble and investment in politics seems to have paid off big time. This is an enormous portfolio. Emmanuel, in less than 30 seconds, we have to go.
Well, one must say that he's trying to cut down the cost of government, but one must commend President Trump in the sense that there is a timeline for this. By 2026, that department is supposed to have finished his work. In Nigeria, we had a report, or the Oronsayo report, that came in about that was inaugurated in 2010. They've had a report. We failed to implement our own report. Instead, we are increasing the cost of governance, increasing more ministries, more ministers. So I think we should learn from President Trump in this respect. Thank you.
Well, unfortunately,
Emmanuel had to go there. Report. Somebody said it resurrects every 4 years, or is it every 8 years? Thank you so much for your analysis, Dr. Constance Okoko, as always, and for Mr. Emmanuel being here, our guest commentator for today. We do appreciate your time. That's the much we can take on Daybreak today. I am Adeso Moran. Up next is The Morning Show. Good morning.
I'm thanking you for watching.
Stay with us. The Morning Show is up next. I am Nkechi.